Hi, this is Little Anthony here, and you're listening to Rod Wolf and the Sunday Night Hall of Fame on AM 790 on your dial, WAEB.
WAEB, Allentown.
You're listening to the Stars of Stabler interviews on the Sunday Night Hall of Fame and AM 790 WAEB, Allentown, Easton, Bethlehem, the number one voice of the Lehigh Valley. This is your host, Rod Wolf. One of the headline acts of the 1987 Christmas Spectacular was Anthony Gourdine, known to his millions of fans around the world as Little Anthony. I asked Anthony to reminisce about the earliest days of his career with groups like the DuPonts and the Chesters.
The DuPonts were just a local act out of Brooklyn, and I think we made a record or two, and it sold in Philly and Brooklyn, which I found a lot of people interested in that, but it's very difficult for me to get emotionally up, even discuss it, because it means absolutely nothing in my life. It was a very insignificant time. It was a learning period. There's no comparison to those days and now, and so you don't think much of it. The interesting part to me when I always talk about it is the Chesters, because the Chesters were the Imperials. That was the beginning of a new sort of an era that started the whole ball rolling. So when people come to me about DuPonts, I probably blocked it out in my mind, some subconscious way or something.
Boom, 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 boom. Jump, tree, tree, go the birds in the tree, please. Oh, what happened to me? Gee, I must be falling in love. Come on, you guys and gals, gather round. I'm gonna tell you what I found. I found that I'm falling in love. Is there a doctor in the house? Heart is hit so high. Every time I look at her, my head goes spinning around. Oh, my friend, don't you know that I must be falling in love? Doctor in the house, my heart is beating loud. Every time I look at her, my head goes spinning around. Oh, my friend, don't you know that I must be falling in love? Love, 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 must be falling in love. Must be falling in love. Falling in love.
WAEB. You,
while you, while you. Well, baby, come here to me. Oh, you are so dear to me. I've never loved no one like I love you. While while you.
Anthony Gourdine with his first group, the DuPonts, Must Be Falling in Love, and You. I asked Anthony how he met Richard Barrett, a former member of the New York City group The Valentines. Barrett had quit performing and was working for George Goldner's Gone and End record labels. Anthony also talked about the fledgling rock and roll music business of New York City during the middle 1950s.
One of the Imperials, Ernest Wright, knew him for a long time. He was then the manager of the Chantels, and he was also the man instrumental in getting Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers signed to George Goldner's company. That's how I met him. And there was a building in New York City called 1650 Broadway, which was the mecca of all independent record companies. And at that time, there were just numerous amounts of them all in one building. And the publishers was right down the street, which was 1619 Broadway, which was the whole publishing industry in a nutshell. You got to remember that the business is really catching hold, and nobody knew what they were doing. And from the standpoint of the legitimate publishers all over the world and things like that, nobody really took it seriously. So it was sort of capsulized in one little area. So when I tell people I stood in the corner with Bobby Darin when Bobby was hawking tunes, and no one knew he was going to be Bobby Darin, see? Or that we sat there with Dionne Warwick when Cissy Houston was singing back up, and that little girl Whitney was just a little baby then, and people like Barry Gordy of Motown, that was a writer, and we were all standing around corners talking about what we wanted to do, where we were going. No one knew that the future was going to make each of these individuals unique at the time, and so Richard Barrett was part of that. We just ran into him. He was doing some business with another company, and we said, hey man, we want to record. Could you hear our group? And that's how that began.
Was Richard a member of the Valentines?
Yeah, he was a member of the Valentines, yeah.
Ernest wrote Just Two Kinds of People in the World, is that right?
Yeah, well, our group actually wrote it, but it was conceived by Ernest's idea. He just was singing the melody one day and didn't really have a whole lot of words. In fact, the words didn't make a whole lot of sense, and Richard Barrett changed some of the words and made it a little bit better because he had more experience.
Just two kinds of people in the world. Why can't we fall in love? Just two kinds of people in the world. They are a boy and girl.
Boy meets girl and love begins. Oh, what a feeling you get from within. For I should know, 'cause I'm in love. I'm the boy who told the girl of the stars up above.
Just two kinds of people in the world. Why can't we fall in love? Just two kinds of people in the world. They are a boy and girl. Boy meets girl and love began. Oh, what a feeling you get from within.
For I should know, 'cause I'm in love. I'm the boy who told the girl of the stars up above.
Just two kinds of people in the world. Why can't we fall in love? Just two kinds of people in the world. Why can't we fall?
Memories are made of WAEB.
The song Two Kinds of People was already on tape, along with another song called Cha-Cha Henry. It was George Goldner, owner of the record label, that didn't care to release either as an A-side of a record. It was agreed that Two Kinds of People could be a B-side, and then Richard Barrett sat down and played a song at the piano. George Goldner insisted the group record it as the A-side of their record. Anthony remembers that at first the group was not that thrilled with the song that would become a 1950s classic.
Well, not that we didn't like it, we thought we had better songs. See, the group didn't like Shimmy Shimmy Kokomo. We hated it. That's still not one of my favorites, okay? But Tears for My Pillow was not that we didn't like it. We just felt that there were other songs we had that were better. That's how we felt. But in those days, artists didn't have the input, or they didn't have the authority they have today, or artistic control. In those days, you did what the head guy said, and that was it.
in my heart caused by you. If we could start anew, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd gladly take you back and tempt the hand of fate. Tears on my pillow, pain in my heart caused by you. Love is not a gadget, love is not a toy. When you find the one you love, she'll fill your heart with joy. If we could start anew, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd gladly take you back and tempt the hand of fate. Tears on my pillow, pain in my heart caused by you. Oh,
Tears on My Pillow by the Chesters. If you remember, at this point in their career, the group was still known as the Chesters. The record was ready for release when the label's A&R man decided to change the group's name to the Imperials. It would be shortly thereafter that legendary rock and roll disc jockey Alan Freed gave Anthony Gourdine the nickname that he seems to resent to this very day.
When you recorded Two Kinds of People and Tears on My Pillow, weren't you still known as the Chesters?
Yeah, we still had to name the Chesters. Because it was really quick, you know.
Who renamed you then?
A man in the record company by the name of Lou Galley, who was a public relations man in records. His job was to create some marketing value for radio station. You know, he was a PR man. And he came up with that. He thought it was better that we change our name because he felt the Chesters didn't have impact. But no one knew what a Chester was anyway. I don't remember that.
Could you relate to our listeners the Alan Freed connection?
Well, that's because we lived in New York City and Freed's office was in New York. He went from Cleveland to New York, and that's all. It was just that he was doing shows in the Brooklyn Paramount and the New York Paramount theaters at that time. Nobody else was doing that other than big bands, and big bands had run its gamut, and he took over that sort of spot and started on these rock and roll shows, and he was very, very successful. So I just got to meet him because I just worked on some shows.
From a collector's standpoint, they say there's some copies of Tears on My Pillow floating around yet on end with Chesters, because they say they did press some.
Well, I don't know about that. That's news to me. I know that they have many records were pressed as the Imperials without Little Anthony. See, Little Anthony came a month later because Alan Freed started saying on the radio. They had to pull in a lot of singles and have them repressed. The man had not known me or met me, so why he did that, no one knows. He just did it, and you gotta understand, he was the leading disc jockey, and disc jockeys had control in those days. And so when he said something, well, you know, record company's gonna follow what he's doing. He's helping them make millions of dollars. I mean, he didn't know who I was opening act, so he had not known me personally. So why he called me Little Anthony? If he knew me, he wouldn't have called me Little, because I'm 5'8" and a half. See, and that's not little for a man. So I know it had nothing to do with seeing me and making some decision. He didn't even know it was me that he knew from the DuPonts.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. You know I will. 'Cause I love, I need you so much. So much. Oh, so much.
You're listening to the original Sunday Night Hall of Fame from 79 WAEB Allentown.
WAEB. While looking for a follow-up release to Tears in My Pillow, a young New York City singer-songwriter brought a song to George Gourdine and Richard Barrett. Little Anthony and the Imperials recorded the song, and Gourdine loved it so much he instructed Barrett to release it as the follow-up to Tears in My Pillow. Well, Gourdine proceeded to leave for a European vacation, and Richard Barrett decided instead the group would release a song he had written called So Much. Barrett's song was not a big hit, and when the Imperials didn't release the other song right away, that young singer-songwriter who brought the song to the group decided to record it himself. The song was called The Diary, and the singer-songwriter, Neil Sedaka.
The one that has the lock and key, and know the boy that you care for, the boy who's in your diary. When it's late at night, what is the name you write? Oh, what I'd give if I could see. Boy that you care for, the boy who's in your diary. Do you recall and make note of all the little things I say and do? The name you underline, I'm hoping that it's mine, and darling, I'm so in love with you. Please don't leave me blue, make all my dreams come true. You know how much you mean to me. Say I'm the boy that you care for, who's in your diary. Shimmy, shimmy, bop. Sitting in a native hut all alone and blue. Sitting in a native hut wondering what to do. Along came a native girl, did a native dance. It was like in paradise, put me in a trance. Going shimmy, shimmy, cocoa bop. Shimmy, shimmy, bop. Shimmy, shimmy, cocoa bop. Shimmy, shimmy, bop. Join her in her dancing spree, felt my smile and twinkle. Held her tight and close to me, man, I'm glad I'm single. Then she showed me what to do. First I was amazed, soon I learned a step or two, put me in a daze. Going shimmy, shimmy, cocoa bop. Shimmy, shimmy, bop. Shimmy, shimmy, cocoa bop. Shimmy, shimmy, bop. Shimmy,
cocoa pop, shimmy, shimmy, pop. You can do the cocoa pop, now's no time to stop.
Left one forward, right one back, bring them side by side. A syncopation, last two steps, now you're gonna glide. Keep along the rhythm track, girls, be showing how. Now you start to arch your back, man, you got it now. Going
Shimmy, shimmy, cocoa pop, shimmy, shimmy, pop. 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 Shimmy, shimmy, cocoa pop, shimmy, shimmy, pop.
Hello, Lehigh Valley. I'm Anthony Gourdine. Did I hear you say who? Well, if you ever saw me appear on Gene K's TV show or came out to see me at one of his record hops or nightclub appearances, you see, he would introduce me by saying, "Here's little Anthony and the Imperials." Now, he'll be playing the classic hits on WAEB starting February the 8th at 11:30 in the morning every day. Listen, Gene, just once, introduce me by saying, "Here's Big Anthony," or all grown up Anthony. Or better yet, Anthony Gourdine. I'll accept that.
WAEB Music, Tri-City Radio.